Hello, you're listening to Occupy Radio London on Occupy London TV. My name's Mark. We're going to do a show today entitled The War Machine. I'm here with Mel Strickland. Say hello, Mel.
Hi.
We're going to talk about the recent action that was done in September called Occupy versus the Arms Fair that you were involved in.
Yep.
Cool, just confirming that for me. So first of all, just tell us about yourself before we talk about the Arms Fair and stuff, so people can get a sense of who you are.
Well, I've been involved in Occupy London since the start, particularly active in the environmental movement and campaign Save the NHS and all sorts of different things, really.
Cool. So you were involved in the action against the Dicey Arms Fair. So just tell us a little bit about the Dicey Arms Fair. What is it? What drew your attention to it? And yeah.
Well, some of my friends were quite active in a campaign to shut the Arms Fair down, and I live in East London. The Dicey Arms Fair takes place in East London every 2 years. When I started talking to people that were involved in this, in organising an action to shut it down, I was shocked at just how pervasive the arms industry is and how complicit the UK government is in supporting the killing industry. I think it's such a worthwhile thing to be involved in because obviously arms kill people, they kill children, and it's something that I felt very, very, very strongly about.
Well, can you go into what you were describing about the UK government's support of the arms trade and how you see that?
Yeah, well, the Dicey Arms Fair attracts more than 30,000 visitors each time. The UK government provides logistical, political and economic support. So, for example, a UK minister, Philip Dunn, sort of gave an address at the Dicey Arms Fair last month. There's actually a government department which is responsible for promoting the arms industry abroad, and that is UK Trade and Investment and the Defence and Security Organisation.
They have a lot of public sector, they have a lot of public servants employed with that, don't they? Is it over 100? It's something that's like 170 or something like that.
Yeah, I'm not too sure what the exact figure is, but it's certainly over 100, yeah, and that sounds like the correct ballpark figure. So this government department actually invites international delegations. It subsidises the arms industry. I think one of our biggest arms clients is Saudi Arabia. Representatives from extremely repressive regimes come to the Dicey Arms Fair, which is promoted by the government. We're talking representatives from Israel, Bahrain, Colombia, Turkey, the Russians that are selling arms to Syria. So it's an extremely corrupt industry, and it's involved with a lot of corrupt regimes, and we're very much part of that. We're pushing that, and UK businesses are making a lot of money from it, and the UK government, whilst imposing a very vicious, violent austerity regime on its own people, is also pushing the arms industry abroad and directly involved in killing people and torturing them abroad. I want to come back to the point you raise about austerity and how that sits alongside this enormous support of a high profit industry like the arms trade. But I wanted to just dwell on just shortly, briefly, I think, how you see this Britain's involvement, how it supports these what you describe as brutal regimes. How does that, so that for a person who finds this perhaps daunting, how does this fit into, because the UK presents itself to its own people and to the world as this bastion of freedom and justice, and it's against brutal regimes. And from what you're saying, on the inside, it's housing them, it's welcoming them to their parties, it's giving them arms deals. They're considered important clients. How do you see that dissonance between the two things? Well, it's exactly as you said. There's a complete disconnect between what the UK says, what our government says, and what it actually does. So, for example, earlier this year in April, an arms treaty was ratified, and the UK is a signatory to that. That arms treaty is designed, in principle at least, to sort of stop. To regulate. I mean, it's impossible to regulate this industry, but to regulate the industry to some extent. And yet the Dicey Arms Fair happens in East London every 2 years. At every Dicey there have been breaches of law. including our own law. So in the past, we've had cluster bombs promoted and cluster munitions. Just this last IC, we had torture equipment being promoted in breach of UK law. I believe that the HMRC is supposed to be responsible for enforcing UK law, in relation to arms, and yet, it doesn't happen. We're also, the fact that this arms industry exists is a breach of international human rights law, which again we say the UK government says that we're supportive of human rights, but we do exactly the opposite. It's a lie, really. It's sort of say one thing and do completely the opposite. What it boils down to is that war and conflict and the arms industry makes a lot of money. And it makes a lot of money for a very small minority of people, elites and corporations. And we're very, we're hugely complicit in that.
Well, that brings me to the austerity point, because it's interesting, because a person might say, well, that doesn't make any sense, the fact that we're suffering austerity, but we've got all this money piling into the arms trade and it's making so much money. Yeah. So that doesn't make any sense. But in fact, it does, because it's all about the notion because the arms trade and the extremely high profit, all of that profit travels upwards, to this narrow section of the political, economic, military and corporate elites. So the action against, because the Dicey Arms Fair, as you say, happens every 2 years, and it's not as if this is the first time anyone's protested against it. It's a long tradition of people protesting, and some of the largest were in, I think, 2001, which was interestingly just as the World Trade Center was getting knocked down by the jets, literally at the same time.
Right.
But there's been a slight lull because of the financial crisis, and people have been, more focused on issues of inequality and things. But just this year, it was the Occupy movement, which you're involved in, and a whole bunch of other groups that came together to do an action called Occupy the Arms Fair, Occupy versus the Arms Fair. Sorry. Yes. So talk about how that happened.
Well, that action had been being organised for some months, and the idea was to shut down the arms fair. I think in previous years, the idea had always been to sort of have some kind of public spectacle outside of the arms fair, but this year people that were involved in organising the Occupy versus the Arms Fair demonstration decided that they actually wanted to stop it from setting up in the first place, rather than just protesting once it was already there. So we had the action on the Sunday, 8th of September. And
that was the day before it opened?
That was, I think it actually opened on Tuesday, but it was on the Sunday when they were actually sort of like, the vehicles were actually driving into the Excel Centre to set everything up.
Mm-hmm. So what happened on the day then? How can you describe the day for the listeners in a way that will give them a sense of what happened?
Yeah. Okay, so people turned up sort of just before noon, and it was quite a strange day, actually, but we just sort of walked to the main entrance to the Excel Centre. And
how many people was it?
A few hundred, maybe a bit more. And it was all very colourful. We had tents and big banners, and we just walked right in front of the main entrance of Excel, and stopped vehicles from being able to enter that entrance. People were locked on, people were in arm tubes, and we had speakers. So, there was that. We blocked the main entrance of Excel, and then a few people, including myself, went round to the other entrance of Excel, because we could see that the military vehicles the police had directed them away from that, from that main entrance, and were directing them to another entrance around a bit further away. So myself and a few others went round to that other entrance, and there were some people there. And my action was to stop an HGV trailer that was immediately leaving the Excel site, to stop it, and myself and a few others went underneath it to,
Well, this is while it was trying to leave?
Yeah, we'd stopped it and then got underneath it to block the traffic, and to stop more military vehicles and stop the thing from setting up, because that was our objective.
So how long would you say the vehicles were unable to enter the Dicey Arms Fair? How big a disruption do you think it caused?
Well, it would have been great if it was more of a disruption, but I think so it was quite an impulsive action. We saw what was happening. It was just so unjust and so wrong that all this traffic was going in, and it's the Excel Centre is vast, it's huge, and the idea that building is full of military equipment, which is being used to oppress people all over the world and to kill people and to ruin their lives, to psychologically damage them, is completely intolerable. And I certainly felt like I just couldn't stand by with a placard and just let that happen. So it was an impulsive action. In an ideal world, we would have locked on underneath the lorry and stopped that traffic for as long as we could, hours and hours. But unfortunately, I think we managed to disrupt the thing for probably about 45 minutes. Once the police had to drag us out, and there's some time sort of processing us, and the vehicles coming to take us away.
So you were arrested with other people.
Yeah.
What was the arrest for?
We're charged with obstruction of the highway.
That old chestnut.
Yeah, that old chestnut. It seems extremely petty. It's just absurd, really, that we're charged with an offence when there are people inside that building who are promoting weapons, and they don't get. The police don't arrest them.
And well, they get the 5-star hotel.
They get
the free lunch.
Yeah, absolutely, they get the 5-star treatment. Yeah.
So it wasn't just because you were arrested with lots of people and from the Occupy group. There was also people arrested from, I believe, Campaign Against the Arms Trade, World Development Movement, Christianity Uncut. There was Quakers, I think.
Yep.
There was Quakers. There was also people who I think aren't really affiliated with organisations were arrested. I was there, not on the side you were, on the other side, and I saw a lady and her daughter get arrested because they refused to move when the police were moving them.
Yeah, good for them.
So you're in court then, I guess.
Yeah, we've got our court hearing on the 4th of November. That's Monday, the 4th of November, at Thames Magistrates Court, which is right next to Bow Tube. And we hope that we have lots of supporters there. There's actually details about our case, and also people can read our public statement on the Stop the Arms Fair website. If you go to the Stop the Arms Fair website and you click on the events tab, you'll find out about details of our case and our public statement, which I really hope that people share and read and share, and also on that webpage you can send us a statement of solidarity, and that really, really means a lot to us if people can do that.
So people can go on the Stop the Arms Fair website to the events tab and see, is the event called Arms Trade on Trial? No?
I think it might be called that. And that's certainly the name of the group on Facebook.
But it's on the 4th of November anyway.
But it's on the 4th of November.
So if you look at the events page, you go to the 4th of November, that'll be the event. You can read the statement. So messages of solidarity, very important.
Yeah.
If people come to the court case, which is at 9 a.m. at Thames Magistrates Court on the 4th of November, what would you most like to see? Would you like to see people with placards? Would you like to see people throwing confetti? What should people do? If a person's listening to this and they think, well, I wouldn't mind coming, but I don't really know what I should do other than come.
Just coming is absolutely fine and great. I should say that the Thames Magistrates Court is actually just across the road from the police station. So, I mean, if you maybe it's not such a good idea to throw confetti. If a couple of people want to bring some banners and just write their own messages of support on a cardboard box or on a bit of paper, that would be fantastic as well. Just having people there to support us will mean so much to us.
All right. Well, Mel, thank you for talking to us. And if you want to support Mel and her crew at outside court, that's on the 4th of November, 9 in, Thames Magistrates Court, and you can find information about their campaign on Stop the Arms Fair, and particularly at the events page on the 4th of November. So, thanks to Mel, and thanks for listening.
Thanks so much.